Hey there, Jeffin. Nice to see that you've written more essays for us. Good work. Let's take a look and see what you wrote. Okay. Let's see. Nowadays, there is a growing trend of private car ownership. Do the benefits outweigh the disadvantages? Okay. In the 21st century, an increasing trend of there it is. Private car ownership can be seen in every city, singular. This essay will discuss both positive and negative aspects on, let's see, of the increase in private car ownership using various examples. Okay, two problems here in this paragraph. Number one, you pretty much have an identical phrase right here, increasing trend on private car ownership. It's like exactly like what was written here, except for in growing you chose increasing, and then you had an error here in the preposition. So other than that, I mean, it's like an identical expression. And then in the next sentence, again, increase in private car ownership. So I would have liked a little variety in your language. I think that was important. Secondly, they have not asked you to discuss both the positive and negatives. I mean, you're going to, but they have asked you very specifically which outweigh which. Is it the benefits or is it the disadvantages? So that's what you should be writing here. Okay, so just, whatever your position is, and from what I can see from your conclusion, you think that the benefits outweigh. So really just something like, while there are negative aspects related to this trend, on the whole, I believe that the benefits are more, or something like that. Okay? Let's move on. On the one hand, convenience is the major advantage of using private cars. More specifically, people do not have to wait for the public transports. No, for public transport, that's it. For longer hours, not longer, long hours, and they can reach their destination comfortably at their own pace. Moreover, private cars would be ideal for sick and elderly people because it's cars we're talking about, provide comfortable seating arrangements and many other facilities. Poor maintenance of public vehicles is also a major reason why many people own private cars. For example, recent empirical research suggests that the majority of people in northern India rated the facilities available in public transport as unsatisfactory. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that private cars offer, no S, a good number of advantages to the people. Okay, fine. On the other hand, environmental hazards such as air pollution and noise pollution are, because it's hazards, are considered as a negative aspect of the increased number of private cars. However, the scenario would be the same if people used public transportation, because public vehicles also use, no S, fuel, which can cause pollution. As such is the situation, government should promote the public to use more eco-friendly energy sources to prevent environmental hazards. For instance, the government of Singapore recently launched a scheme to reduce the tax on electric cars, whereas people who use polluting cars have to pay higher tax money. Therefore, even though there are some negative aspects of private cars, no but here, the advantages they offer cannot be neglected. Okay, so you started this paragraph off well, but then you kind of got off topic. Not kind of, you did get off topic. There is absolutely no reason we should be talking about eco-friendly energy sources. You started going off topic here. So you should have been talking about the disadvantages of private car ownership. So all of this paragraph was really, really irrelevant. All this stuff about like eco-friendly and the example with Singapore, I mean, it's not relevant at all. So if you were at a loss for what some of the disadvantages of private car ownership are, yeah, it's true. The environmental hazards, that's one. You should have extended that. You should have, talked about how, I don't know, in places like Beijing, for example, as car ownership increased 20%, the atmospheric pollution rose 50% or something like that. So use those kinds of statistics to prove your point. Then Let's think about some of the other disadvantages that could occur with private car ownership. I mean, what are they? Do you think that perhaps it's increased cost? Because it is costly to own a car. You have to service it. You have to, you have to maintain it. You have to pay for it, okay? So you could talk about how because these cars are owned by private individuals, there is no way to guarantee that they are in fact servicing their cars regularly, which creates the potential of having how can I say this, poorly serviced cars on the road, which could be a hazard both to the driver and to other drivers on the road. But not only that, it could also be a hazard in terms of air pollution. So if they haven't had all of their systems checked out and cleaned and, updated, then they could be emitting much more like toxic gas and so forth into the atmosphere. So those are some of the things you could have said here. Okay, let's move on. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that private cars have more advantages and disadvantages. However, the negative aspects, such as environmental pollution, have to be solved. Why have? Because you're talking about aspects. And this is just an example. Have to be solved by adopting some eco-friendly measures. In the future, the increasing trend of private car ownership will continue to increase because of the advantages it offers. Okay, fine. I think we talked quite a bit about this. You know where the problem is, so hopefully that will help you to rethink this essay and correct it. Okay, let's look at your task 1. Okay, this is the pie chart with the academic subjects. Remember that it really helps if you include the diagram in your answer, because I really need to refer to it. So keep that in mind. Let's see what you wrote. The proportion of students' preference, not student, look at this, because now according to this, it's one student's preference, and that's not what it's saying. It's students, so it should be S apostrophe. So the proportion of students' preference on 8 different academic subjects in New South Wales between 2014 and 2017 is clearly explained in the given pie charts. Overall, subjects like physics, geography, and biology were the most preferred subjects by the students in New South Wales in both the years. According to the data given, the majority of the students were interested in geography in 2014, and the second most popular subject was maths, 27.3. In the same year, students, again this problem, interest in physics and biology were 19.4 and 13.4 respectively. It is noticeable that in 2014, students' preference in IT, history, and chemistry were around 1%. However, 8.7%, opted for physical education as their favorite subjects. Okay, so it's 8 subjects. Have you mentioned them all? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, good. You've mentioned them all at least once, so that's important. An opposite trend can be seen in the year 2017 as, here you need an as, the majority of the students preferred biology as their favorite subject at around 25%, whereas the second most popular subject in 2017 was physics. Even though you can't put a comma here after even though, it has to belong to a clause. So even though the students' preference in maths and geography had decreased by 2017, it is interesting to note that students' preference on history, you keep saying on, but it just feels so wrong to me. Students' preference for history also works. For history had decreased, not been. What? That doesn't make sense. Oh, had increased from 1.2 to 9.4 over the 3. Okay. However, IT, no subject here, remained as the least preferred subject in 2017 as well. Okay, fine. Some grammar problems in this paragraph. The big thing for me is that you missed the fact that chemistry was no longer on there. And that's a really important piece of information because, yeah, it was really low in 2014, but it's really important to also mention that it wasn't even listed as a preference. We don't know why, but and we shouldn't try to guess, but the point is that it's not there, and that's an important piece of information to include, okay? All right, so good job overall. Go ahead and correct these, send them back to us. Don't forget about your error correction list. We're here We're waiting to see what your next set of essays will bring us, so good luck with them.